The first time I saw one of their ships, it didn't just block the sky, it replaced it. At first, we thought it was a moon, a new satellite, maybe, something drifting too close in Earth's L for orbit. But by the time it crossed into low atmosphere, over Eastern Europe, everyone knew this wasn't natural, this wasn't ours, and it wasn't here to talk. They called themselves the Thalzir, voice like sand grinding through steel, broadcast over hijacked satellites. No translation, no diplomacy, just a countdown. You have 72 hours to surrender planetary sovereignty. We barely had 72 seconds to figure out what planetary sovereignty even meant by the end of day one. They had already vaporized for Air Force bases, jammed every orbital satellite, turned Beijing's defense grid into molten glass, and casually erased the ISS like swatting a fly. It wasn't a war, it was demolition, and humanity was the condemned. I was grounded at the time. Captain Joseph Lockjaw Rayner, U.S. Air Force. I flew a F-22 Raptor until EMP pulses fried every 5th-gen system on Earth. Even the stealth birds, even the drones. They left our missiles dumb, our radars blind, and our satellites mute. The sky didn't belong to us anymore. But out at Area 14, buried under the Nevada sand, something still worked. Not the new tech, not the smart jets. Something older, something forgotten. They called it Razorback. Not a fighter, a weaponized ghost, an experimental F-16 variant from decades ago retrofitted with analog targeting, nuclear avionics, and absolutely zero network dependencies. It wasn't stealthy, it wasn't fast, but it could fly, and when the lights went out worldwide, Razorback's engines purred like it was 1991. I wasn't supposed to be on base. I had been grounded for insubordination backtalk to a general who ordered us not to engage. A Thalzir scout drone buzzing over Houston, but that scout had nuked a children's hospital 30 minutes later, so yeah, I told him to shove protocol up his polished brass and now here I was, sleeping in a supply closet when the call came. Rayner, you're flying. I blinked awake to Colonel Hayes. Hair wild, eyes bloodshot, voice shaking. Flying what? I asked. He didn't answer, just handed me a flight suit, shoved a pistol into my chest, and pointed toward the hangar. Razorback sat under floodlights like a relic from another war. Paint peeled, nose cone cracked, panels stitched together with duct tape and prayers. But as I climbed in, I swear the damn thing growled. No HUD, no touchscreen. Just switches, dials, analog gauges, and one glowing red button marked, "Do not press unless you're really, really serious." I figured I'd be dead before that mattered. 30 minutes later, I was airborne. No GPS, no radar, no WINGMEN. Just me, the Razorback, and a mothership the size of Manhattan floating over Colorado Springs. They hadn't noticed me yet. I was flying too low, too slow, too stupid to be on their threat grid. Good dot, I banked into cloud cover. Missiles were useless. They scrambled guidance with a kind of fractal interference field. Lasers fried in their atmospheric distortion bubbles, and kinetic rounds. Might as well throw rocks at a freight train. So we went old-school.ramjets.gravity. And one prototype payload that no one had ever dared arm. I punched into visual range. There it was. A Thalzir mothership, gleaming with oily black armor, curved like a whale, but pulsing with violet veins that shimmered like they were alive. No engines, no seams, just drift. And at its center, a glowing orb, a power core, maybe a heart, maybe a target. I whispered, "Target acquired." The Razorback didn't respond, but something under the dashboard hummed like it agreed. Then they saw me, a dozen drone ships detached from the mothership like barnacles shaken loose. They were sleek, curved, fast and angry. My radar didn't work, but my eyeballs still did. I saw their trails, and I heard the lock untoned old school tone. Beep 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 beep. I juked left, dumped flares. Too slow, a plasma bolt scorched past my right wing. Another clipped my rudder. The Razorback rattled like a tin can in a blender. I dove. Altitude dropped. 40,000, 30,000, 20,000 feet. They followed, but I was baiting them. I looped under their own ship, hugging the mothership's curve so tight. I could see my reflection in the metal. They didn't expect that. 3 drones slammed into the hull trying to match me. Boom. A ripple of purple static washed over me. Shields flickering. Good. We were inside their shield perimeter now. Too close to shoot. Too fast to catch. Exactly where I needed to be. I leveled out. Climbed again. 20,000, 30,000. The power core was ahead. Glowing. Pulsing. I thumbed the cover off the red button. Colonel Hayes's voice echoed in my head. You pressed that, son, and you're erasing the flight recorder too. Good, I whispered. No one should survive this kind of stupid. I hit it. Everything went quiet. No music, no HUD, just light. The Razorback's belly opened. The prototype payload, a compact sphere wrapped in neutron armor, dropped free. I didn't even see it hit, just white. I woke up upside down. Parachute, caught in a pine tree. My ribs cracked. My leg twisted. But I was alive, and overhead. Nothing, no ship, no mothership. Just clouds, drifting like nothing happened. Then the radios came alive. Static, screams, then cheers. The mothership's gone. Repeat, it's gone. One of ours. Did it. I laid back in the dirt, smiled, then passed out. They laughed at our jet fighters, until one took down a mothership. Now they're not laughing anymore. They found me in a tree, took 2 Blackhawks, 6 medics, and a chainsaw to get me down. By then, Razorback was just dust and legend. I woke up in a mobile trauma unit, outside what used to be NORAD. A nurse whispered something about a confirmed kill. I thought she was joking. Till the brass started showing up. I had 3 broken ribs, a fractured leg, and a punctured lung. Didn't matter. I was now the face of Earth's first victory against the Thal. ZIR, a miracle, or so we thought, by day. 2. The media was calling it the Ghost Jet Incident. They played grainy satellite clips on loop, slow zooms of the mothership bursting into white, alien debris crashing into the Rockies like falling gods. They showed my face, called me the mothership killer. The internet turned me into a meme. Some even said I must have had alien tech. I didn't. Just a dying aircraft, an untested bomb, and a little luck. But that story didn't last long, because day 3 changed everything. The Thalzir came back. Not a fleet. Not even a warning. Just one ship. It didn't enter orbit. It didn't speak. It just appeared instantly off the coast of Argentina, hovering over the Atlantic like a wound in the sky. I was watching it on a military feed when it moved. Not slowly, not gradually. It blinked from one point to another, like someone dragging a cursor across space. One moment, it was miles offshore. The next, it was hovering above Brasilia, and the city vanished. No lights, no flames, just ... gone. Panic spread across the globe, not because of what it did, but because of what it meant. The first mothership, a scout, this a reaper. Commands scrambled. Nations mobilized. But how do you fight something that doesn't obey physics? We fired ICBMs. They vanished. Sent drones. They dropped from the sky. Tech fried before reaching 5,000 feet. The world looked at me like I had answers. I didn't. But Razorback had left a scar, a signal. That night, something called me. Not in words, not in thoughts. It was pressure. A tug in the back of my skull, like gravity. Remembering your name, I snuck out of the hospital and drove west. Didn't know where I was going, until I saw it. A crater, right where the payload had gone off, still smoking, still humming, and inside it, a shape that was a jet, or what used to be one, twisted wreckage, melted fuselage, engine torn open like a rib cage. But somehow, it was alive. I stepped closer, felt heat, cold, something between both. Static kissed my skin. My veins lit up like they remembered flight. I reached out, and Razorback's canopy opened. There was no seat inside, just bone. Not human, not alien, something in between. I heard a voice, not with ears, with memory. You were the key, now become the blade. I blacked out. When I woke, I was inside. Razorback 2.0. Or maybe me, 2.0. I didn't need instruments. The jet knew where to go, and I let it take me. We broke the sound barrier 3 seconds after launch. The sky ripped open. We climbed past 80,000 feet in seconds, and then we hit them. The new Usalzir ship was waiting. It had no engines, no visible hull, just formless mass, shifting like oil under pressure. Tentacles of light, arcing into the atmosphere. Cities below flickered as it drained electricity, data, language. But we didn't attack directly. We aimed up, because above it, I saw something else. A gate, tearing open space like skin, and through it, a fleet waiting to come through. This wasn't an invasion, it was an execution. Razorbacks surged. No missiles, no guns, just will. We streaked toward the gate. They fired beams. Light twisted in impossible directions. We bent around them. They launched. Interceptors, fractured drones made of crystal and shadow. We devoured them, at the last second. I saw Earth below me, clouds, continents, home, and I rammed the gate. There was no explosion, just a silence so deep it felt like death. Then, light. I was floating stars around me, but not stars. I knew the void here was hungry, alive. I looked ahead and saw them, rows upon rows of Zire ships, thousands, maybe millions, waiting, dormant, but aware. And they saw me, and Razorback screamed. We weren't alone. Something in the payload hadn't died. It had evolved, and it was riding with me now. We turned, charged straight at the fleet, because if Earth was going to fall, it would fall after we carved our name into every hull they had. There's a sound that steel makes when it's angry. You don't hear it with ears. You feel it in your teeth, in your bones. That's the sound Razorback made as we dove into the alien fleet. They weren't ready. They saw me, tracked, predicted, but not understood, because they thought I was flying a machine. They didn't realize I had become one. Razorback's frame flexed around me. Not metal, no, not anymore. It was grown, forged in the crucible of death and re-entry and war. A symbiote of machine, will, and wrath. I didn't push buttons. I thought in directions, and the craft followed like a living blade. The first enemy ship was a scout cruiser, spindly, webbed like insect bone, bristling with fractal weapons. We tore through it like paper. No weapons fired, just impact. Razorbacks nosebored into the hull, and kept going, ripping through command decks, engine cores, and DATABANKS. It didn't explode. It screamed. A signal, a warning, a death rattle. By the time we punched out the other side, 2 more ships were waiting. Larger, smarter, faster. DIDN. Single quotes to matter. They launched swarms. Insectoid AI drones buzzed at me like wasps on fire, each one twitching with autonomous countermeasures. I let them come. They struck Razorback's homeland, got absorbed. Metal became flesh. Circuits became nerves. Their parts integrated with us mid-flight. We were learning, mutating, evolving. By the time the next volley of plasma hit us, we bent, not dodged, bent, warped light, redirected impact. A ship that had no business being alive was now beyond death. But the fleet was endless. Each time we destroyed a destroyer, Another took its place. Each kill brought more attention. The hive was stirring, and the center was waking. They called it the Null Core. Not a ship, a god-brain. It wasn't metal, wasn't matter. Just a web of dark energy pulsing across a sphere, the size of Earth's moon. It watched me, and I felt its voice crawl into my mind. Human, what are you? I smiled, and thought back. An extinction-level event. They didn't. Like that. Because the fleet began to change. Ships folded into impossible shapes, growing weapons like tumors, shedding armor to form cannons the size of mountains. They weren't trying to win. They were trying to erase me, to unmake the thing that had humiliated them, and Razorback loved it. We dove into a gravity well threading between quantum fissures, baiting fire, reflecting blasts off our skin, one by one. We tore into command ships, stripping AI cores straight out of reactors, spearing engines with bones hardened by fusion heat. I saw things no human should ever see. Solar-blooded, cruisers the size of continents, ships with living faces that screamed my name, weapons that sang in dead languages, and yet, I kept going, because every ship I destroyed, every core I pierced, every scream in the dark, it was all for Earth. But they were learning too. Their last line wasn't a warship, it was a mirror. Razorback screamed, ahead of us. Something shifted, birthed, in the vacuum, like a shadow turned inside out. It looked like me, same size, same shape, same rage. A twisted version of Razorback. But inside it, I saw a pilot. Human. No. Something made to look like me, to mock me. The Null Core had copied my thoughts, my patterns, my tactics. It had built a counterfighter, and now we were on a collision course. We hit each other at full speed, no shields, no hesitation, just raw fury. First pass, I lost a wing. Second pass, it lost an engine. We spun, twisted, burned trails, through dimensions I didn't have words for. We traded fire, real fire plasma, nanite swarms, arc matter rounds, sonic blades. It blocked me with memories. Flashed my childhood in my cockpit, my dead mother, my ruined cities. Tried to guilt me into defeat. I roared louder, not in anger, in clarity. I chose this, and I'd do it again. The final blow came when Razorback opened itself completely. Every panel, every memory. We stopped being a machine. We became a bomb, a weapon of identity. I grabbed the mirror fighter and flew straight into the Null Core's neural field. I saw everything. How the Thalzir had culled worlds, burned archives, absorbed civilizations. They didn't conquer, they erased. And Earth, we were next. Unless I made sure we weren't. Razorback fired one last burst of energy, not at their ships, but at their history. It wiped their memory archive clean, erased their records of Earth, deleted humanity from their kill list, and burned my name into their neural DNA. Rainer, Earth, death. The mirror fighter crumbled. Razorback folded in half, and I fell, through void, through time, through memory, back toward Earth. I hit the ocean off the coast of Chile. A fishing boat picked me up 2 days later. I was wrapped in cockpit metal, eyes glowing, skin marked by static, and when they asked me what happened, I said, they know better now. But I knew it wasn't over. They would come back. They always do, but this time, they'd come with fear. Because now, every alien fleet had a name on their black box warning. Avoid airspace near Sol. Do not engage. Razorback may still be out there. They didn't return as conquerors. They came back as gods. 3 months after the Razorback incident, Earth was quiet. Too quiet. No motherships. No beacons. Not even drones. Just ... silence. But anyone who's fought long enough knows, silence isn't peace. It's the pause before an ambush. I spent those months underground, not metaphorically, literally, deep beneath Groom Lake, in a facility that didn't officially exist. I sat strapped to machines that hummed with stolen alien energy. Doctors ran tests. Engineers took notes. Generals asked questions I didn't have answers to, because Razorback had changed me. My blood held new proteins. My neurons fired faster. I could hear radar. I could feel magnetic fields. I wasn't human anymore. Not completely. And I wasn't alone. They were building more. The world's last militaries. What was left of NATO, and a few rogue black-budget think tanks, had all joined hands. They were building Project Echo-Wing.10 prototype fighters, each part human, part machine, each one built with fragments of Razorback's recovered debris, each one piloted by someone who had touched death and come back. They called us the Ghost Squadron. I was Ghost 1, but none of us were ready for what came next. Day 112. After the last contact, at exactly 0800 GMT, every radio frequency on Earth lit up with the same voice. We are the Veilok. We come to cleanse. You are marked for destruction. Now, you are marked for example. They weren't Thalzir, not entirely. More like vessels, living beings hollowed out and filled with Thalzir code, human-shaped, but wrong. Bones stretched, skin metallic, eyes glowing with algorithmic fire. They didn't conquer from orbit. They landed in cities, in broad daylight, and began preaching. I watched from the echoing command hub as they walked through Paris, Tokyo, Istanbul, handing out devices like gifts. They called them purifiers, supposed to erase pain, cure disease, lift humans to a higher tier of logic. But within hours of use, users lost empathy, then language, then autonomy. They became vessels too. We had fought ships. Now we were fighting ourselves. Your neighbor, your sister, your commanding officer, converted in seconds by an alien thought virus, disguised as mercy. It wasn't just war anymore. It was infiltration. Ghost Squadron was activated within 24 hours. 10 pilots, 10 ships. 1 mission: sever the link between Earth and the Veilok hive. We launched from Greenland under Aurora Street skies. Our destination, Stratos Relay Sigma, a floating alien structure 200 miles above Earth, invisible to conventional radar broadcasting. The conversion signal, it had to be destroyed. Climbing through atmosphere, my jet whispered to me, not with words, with instincts. It wanted revenge, not just for Earth, but for what they'd done to me, every second. Razorback's memory bled into the controls. The closer we got to the relay, the more I felt the pull, like I was going home. Then the countermeasures activated. The sky rippled. Not clouds, not weather, just war. Thalzir ships cloaked like phantoms. Organic designs, no straight lines. Surfaces that writhed like skin under a microscope. They launched plasma bolts before we even had visual lock. 3 ghosts went down in the first volley. Ghosts 6 and 9 collided mid-roll, vaporized in a heartbeat. I screamed into Combs break formation. But the enemy had learned our patterns, because they were listening to us, to our thoughts, through the tech in our own jets. So I cut the link. Manual controls only, hands-on. Stick feet on rudder. No assist, just me. Just war. And Razorback responded faster than before. Sharper. We danced between fire, like smoke on a wire. Dove through plasma trails. Surfed on their own gravity wells. Fired rail bursts into their power nodes. Ghost 2 and 3 regrouped behind me. We formed a triangle, old-school dogfighting, the kind they taught in museums, and it worked. We clipped 5 ships in under 2 minutes, but the relay, it was still rising. Stratos Relay Sigma wasn't just a dish, it was a being, a construct of orbiting mass and AI cognition. It pulsed like a heart, and its pulse was changing people by the second. Down below, Earth was screaming. We could hear it, through comms, through our hulls. The pleading, people begging not to forget their names, begging not to lose. themselves, begging to stay human. Ghost to fell, impacted by an ion burst that liquefied its wings. 3 followed, pierced by a gravity spike that pulled the fuselage into a spin that left me ghost. 1. The last line. Razorback's memory opened, showed me what the original payload had done. It hadn't just destroyed the mothership, it had injected something into the Thalzir code. Something viral, something wild. That's why they were fighting. So hard to overwrite us now. Earth was contaminated, and I was the vector. I lined up with the relay. It turned to face me. Yes, it turned. Its body rearranged, like puzzle pieces, reshaping a god. It opened its maw, a dish the size of Texas, ready to fire. But I was already there, I whispered. Now. Razorback bled red from every seam. And then we struck, not with missiles, with identity. I fed it all. My pain, my rage, my childhood memories, my mother's voice singing to me in the dark, my first flight, the names of every pilot I'd ever lost, my humanity. I gave it to Razorback like fuel, and it burned the sky. Strato's relay Sigma cracked, screamed, fell. I tumbled with it. Flames kissed the fuselage. Atmosphere tore at my wings. But I was smiling, because the signal went dead, and Earth got quiet. For now. They stopped laughing. Not just the Thalzir, not just the Velok, but every species that had ever watched Earth from the dark. They stopped laughing when the relay fell, when I ripped their song of control out of the sky, and fed it back to them on fire. I woke up in the ruins of Razorback's cockpit, buried under glacial ice, off the coast of Greenland. My left eye was blind, my hands shook from nerve damage, and I couldn't remember my own name for 12 hours. But I remembered the sky, I remembered it breaking, and I remembered silence returning. To Earth. Command retrieved me. What was left of it? The United Earth Defense Coalition, barely 20 nations. Mostly shattered remnants of what we once called superpowers. They didn't cheer this time. They didn't parade. They just looked at me like a weapon too dangerous to admire. They rebuilt Razorback, but I could tell they were scared, because the stars were still watching, and something out there wasn't finished with us. 3 weeks after the relay fell, something landed in the Mojave, not crash-landed, a ship the size of a courthouse. Smooth as obsidian, covered in markings that shimmered when touched by wind. No weapons, no threats, just one open hatch. I went in alone, not because I was ordered to, because I had to. The ship wasn't empty. Inside stood a being shaped like glass and shadow. No face, no mouth, but I heard it speak directly in my skull. We watched what you did. We know what you are. I braced for another fight. Instead, it knelt. We were enslaved by the Thalzir for 1,000 rotations. You burned their signal out of the void. You freed us. We have come to stand beside you. They called themselves the Valerii, a nomadic race once known for building stars, until the Thalzir reduced them to living circuits inside command ships. Now, freed, they weren't just grateful, they were furious. And they brought gifts. We called them grave wings, biotech starfighters, organic, self-healing, faster than thought, not flown, bonded like Razorback, but evolved. And they wanted me to lead them. Earth's skies filled with strange shapes, grave wings circling old human jets, Valerii engineers working side by side with Earth's last mechanics, alien medics repairing bones with light. For the first time in history, we weren't alone, and we weren't begging. We were arming up, because the Thalzir finally broke silence. They sent one final message, not broadcast, branded into the crust of the moon in black energy. We remember the Razor. We will return. Earth dies next. Command wanted to evacuate. Some talked about seed vaults, underground bunkers, colony arcs. But I knew better. They wouldn't stop chasing us, even across galaxies. So, we did the unthinkable. We built a fleet, not to defend Earth, to take the war to them. 3 grave wings for every continent. 5 echo wings rebuilt from scratch. 1 razorback.me. We launched on a cold morning, sky clear, atmosphere still, the entire planet holding its breath. And when the engines lit blue flames streaking across dawn like a blade being drawn, every human, still alive, looked up. Because this wasn't a mission, it was retribution. We jumped past Marstua Valerie Rift Gate, straight into Thalsir space, and what we saw was hell. Planets chained by gravity collars, stars dimmed by harvest rings, entire moons carved into screaming data centers, species we'd never seen stacked like cargo, processed, filed, erased. This was what they did. Not conquest, annihilation of meaning. They didn't wait to talk. They fired, fleet after fleet, ship after ship, endless. But this time, we weren't a lone jet, we were humanity with backup. Gravewings sang in solar frequencies, echo-wings dove in squadrons, lacing fire through impossible gaps. I led the charge, not with orders, with vengeance. The Thalsir's final bastion was a construct star, a black sun wrapped in logic gates, feeding on real stars to power thought. We had one chance. Get Razorback inside. Let its payload do what it was born to do. I flew faster than light. The final approach peeled paint, then skin, then memory. But I held on, because this wasn't just for me. This was for every child they erased, every city they cracked, every name they tried to delete from the stars. I reached the core. Razorback opened like a flower, and I heard a voice inside me say, "Let them feel what Earth sounds like." I laughed, and I triggered the core. Light. Sound. History exploded into their network like a virus. Rage, joy, art, music, chaos, hope, stubbornness, everything that made us human, everything they couldn't predict. It broke them. The core collapsed, the sun screamed, and I fell through the remains of an empire. When I woke, I was in orbit above Earth, alive. Razorback, gone. But the sky, ours. They laughed at our jet fighters, until one took down a mothership, until we built more, until we reminded the galaxy Earth doesn't kneel.